Welcome to the Michelle and Belize Morning Show. Coming to you live today on location at one of my favorite little restaurants here in Maya Beach, which is my neighborhood. And it's a great place to eat. It's a great place to just sit around, have a few drinks. Anyway, this is just nice to be outside. As my first two launches to you were indoors. So today we're going to try an outside video. Our topic today, as I mentioned in episode 1, we were going to talk about buying in Belize. And I think what we need to do is merge the two together, buying and selling in Belize. And if at a later time we need to dive in or unpack some of the different nuances of both or individually, we're going to do that. So let's start by talking a little bit about the selling process. Understanding the selling process for a seller here in Belize will really help a buyer to understand what's going on in this country and how the two combine. First and most important for everybody to know, and this is buyers and sellers, is we have no MLS system here in Belize. Now, all of you in North America are used to an MLS system where you can log on to a local real estate MLS and you can see every listing from every brokerage, and it's all right there. You search, you get it, and it's all real live time data, which means it's not outdated. It's all up to date because of the rules and regulations. Here in Belize, we are growing and we are trying, but we do not have an MLS system. I have a wonderful assistant who creates for the Michelle and Belize team an MLS system. So we go out and we gather all of the information so that when buyers come to us, we're able to then give them all of the data. I'm not saying that's easy because it has to be checked on a daily basis as well. So as a seller, okay, so let's start with as a seller. I have a new seller, for example, coming on board, and he first wants to know how I'm going to market his property. How are you all going to see his property? And most importantly, what's he going to have to pay to use my services? So number one is most important is our international exposure. So from a seller point of view, you get international exposure with the REMAX brand, with all of our different REMAX Caribbean and global websites. We also feed out to REALTOR.com international, and then we have hundreds of other websites that it'll go to capture the buyer's attention. So number 2 on their list was how am I going to market the property? So we're going to do good photos, and if any of you understand my background, you know that photography is something that is near and dear, and video is near and dear to my heart. And the third thing a seller is going to ask is, how much is this going to cost me? So in North America, most sellers are used to a 5 or 6% commission base. In Belize, our base rate is 8% commission on the sale of the home. We can take a little bit off when we're including furnishings, etc., and break that up a bit. So that is on an exclusive listing. And that is what most of us realtors would prefer, as we commit to our sellers to work very hard for you. So now that you kind of understand a seller point of view, their home or lot or condo could be on the market for a day or two to 5 years. And that is serious. Location is key. But the same things apply: location, price, and condition. So for our sellers watching out there, that's what you need to remember. And pricing it right is always very difficult because we don't have the same type of comps here in Belize, and it's all about the buyer and what they truly want. So now we're going to move on to buyers And as I mentioned before in other episodes, I don't want to make my episodes too long. However, there's a lot to go through when you're thinking about buying in a foreign country. So thus why we're going to have several different episodes. And so if you don't have time to watch this full episode, just remember, go to my YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and you can come back and watch them at your leisure. If you're watching from Facebook, I will put the YouTube channel in the comments, and you can go and subscribe and come back and visit us at your convenience. So as a buyer, what are you looking for when you are buying in Belize? It could be waterfront. As you see, I'm on the Caribbean Sea right now. It could be on the lagoon side, which is the beautiful lagoon and the mountains. It could be somewhere in the middle. We are a small peninsula that is about, I think, 18 miles. I'll confirm that in another video. So you have sea on one side, the Caribbean Sea, and the lagoon on the other. So it really doesn't matter. There's one road to follow. So then it comes down to budget. And finding a realistic budget point right now for our buyers is varied. So we have buyers in a lower demographic who simply just want a piece of raw land that they are eventually going to build on, and that's what they want to do. And those are a little easier to find, not necessarily on the seafront, but to give you an example, we just had a reduced listing the other day from one of our associates in our office on a seaside, beautiful lot down the road, and I believe it went at, the list price is around $365,000 US, and that is for just a vacant seafront lot, much like what Ed and Jessica and Julie and I did when we came and bought a lot and then started to build. The other option is our condo townhouse buyers. We have several townhouses and condos available, and they come with a different set of expectations. So the HOA fees vary depending on the area, depending on the gated community, depending on the security, depending on the amenities. So it really varies. Then we move into homes and what you can expect with homes here that are already built. Would you prefer a wooden home, a little cozy cottage? Would you like a cement home? Would you like a big mansion for your retreat and your family and all of that? We have everything here available for you. So, talking about price from a buyer's point of view, every list price you see, first and foremost, backing up a little bit here, find yourself a good trusted realtor, whether it's me or whether it's one of my associates at REMAX. You will be in good hands. Just make sure that you are speaking and committed to one realtor. Don't go to a whole bunch of sources because everybody has different information. Just choose one that you like and appreciate, and we will work with you to ensure all your needs are met. So as a buyer, you have to understand the way the land title works here. So that's the reason why I want you to have good representation. Before I even take a buyer out on a tour to look at properties, I ensure that each property has a deed or a title that is in that person, that seller's name. Registered title, no liens, or if it has a lien, it's not a problem. We can clean that up when it comes time to selling. But it's so important to make sure. So one of our protocols here at REMAX First Choice, before we can even list a listing, is that we must showcase the title or the deed of conveyance to our office before they will make that listing live. Now this is to secure you, our buyer, to make sure that what we are showing you is legal on paper. So now let's get on to a little bit about the money. Okay, so in Belize, cash is king. Most buyers are using cash. whether they're bringing some cash from the US, whether they're using their self-directed IRAs out of the US. We actually now have some lenders, a mortgage broker out of Florida that we're working with that's going to be able to provide you mortgages. We have some sellers here that will provide seller financing, which is a bonus. So when you choose the home of your dreams, then you just have to remember to tack on 10%. 10%. 8% of that is, 8% of that is your one-time land transfer tax fee. Now this is where we take the title that was in the seller's name, and we then get it legally with a closing agent or an attorney, whichever your choice is. We can recommend that. Legally, we get that moved over to your name. Or perhaps you want it in your LLC, or your IBC, or your LTD company here in Belize. That's another topic, and that's another episode that we will have talking about the different ways you can have ownership on property here and the reasons thereof. So the other 2% is your closing fees. Now that varies whether you're using an attorney or whether you're using one of our in-house closing agents. Our in-house closing agents here at REMAX do a fabulous job. They are just as good as attorneys. Attorneys do a wonderful job too. If it's a complicated deal, then perhaps we go to an attorney. Most of my clients, I would say 80% of my buyers, just use us here at REMAX. They have the whole REMAX office team, which is amazing for communication. And then they have our independent closing agent based out of Belmopan, our capital city, very close to the lands office, so that they can go over and do the land transfer title for you. Documents. So this is where people trying to understand, how do you get these things signed and what's the next step when you're buying? Once you've chosen your home, we put an offer in, we've got it accepted. On an accepted offer, you've got 5 to 10 working days to get your 10% deposit and your 2% legal fees into the escrow account of REMAX, which is a Chase escrow account out of the US. So that is a good way to do things. So then we move on to a closing period. Closing periods here can take between 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the complexity of the property that you're purchasing. And then at closing time, the buyer and the seller will sign off on statements before any funds are dispersed. The land transfer tax will get paid, the 8% from you, the buyer, to the lands office. You will then have a beautiful little piece of paper that says you own the property, you paid the taxes, and then it could take anywhere from 6 months to a year to 18 months to get your real piece of paper with the title. That doesn't stop you from having to be able to start working on your property or living in your property. You own it. So that explains pretty much in a nutshell a little bit about the buying and the selling process. I'm sure I've missed a few things along the way, and this is where I'd like to ask you to please put your questions in the comments section or reach out to me by email. Just visit the website and you'll find everything. We'll put everything in the comments so you can easily access. I have an online calendar to book one-on-one calls for your specific needs. And that is about it for today's episode. What I'm going to do now is, as this is one of my favorite spots for iced coffee, I'm going to have a little cheers from Belize. And then Michelle in Belize is going to sign off for today until the next episode. The next episode, you know what? I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. But together we're going to find out what the topic is that you need the most. So thank you for watching. Stay with Michelle in Belize. Follow Michelle in Belize. Have a great day.